thought I could have another, maybe you want to delve into what everybody else is doing, and thought we could have a look at your birds if because you'll know approximately when they left.
Yeah, there are quite a few, as I said. The one that I've got the best information for when it definitely left, I would say, is an adult female from nest 7, because she sort of took off from the nest and she was heading towards the reservoir. That's the one that you see the water behind the nest. She took off to the reservoir and I could see her going up and up and up and up and thermaling, and then she was never seen again. She went, and that was...
Say that again. You saw her thermaling?
Yeah, you could see her. I could see her because I'm looking way into the distance at the back of the camera, and it's a 4K, 4K view. I could see her disappearing over the reservoir, and then she started going higher and higher and higher, to the point where, I couldn't see her. She went off the top of the screen. So it wasn't like she was just going for a fly around.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was
exactly it. That's exactly what the swans are like on migration.
Yeah.
Report that, but quite often they're doing it at night.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do here. Everywhere. The ones that have got pan tilt zoom cameras, they can follow one and say it looks pretty likely that's on its way now. Now, whether they go very far or whether they decide, oh, this is all a bit much, and come down 10 miles away, nobody knows. But she's an adult female, so I'm fairly sure.
What date was that? Do you know what date?
The 24th of August at 13:26.
Okay, so it's a pretty light kind of 10k an hour.
Yeah,
it's not a tailwind, but
no,
was it okay? So it's middle of the day. There would have been thermals if it was a hot sunny day.
Yeah,
so
it was quite
the thermals could be overriding whatever the local winds are as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if the winds get any stronger. Just at 100, that would be at 100 feet. I mean, it doesn't get much different then. Yeah. Okay, so that was when you reckon the first bird left, and then
she wasn't the first to leave, but she's the one that I reckon that is definitely the point at which she left Kielder. Whether she went very far, I can't say, but it was a nice day, so I'd imagine being an adult, she would be heading off. We don't know 100%, but the likelihood is that she actually overwinters north of Simone. Are you going to Simone? I can't remember. You are, aren't you, in Senegal?
Yeah, we're going to Senegal. Yep.
Somebody else got a photograph of a bird in the area that had a ring that they got a partial read, and they thought it was XX7, but there isn't an XX7. She's KX7.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a very dark female. So, and that's the only likely suspect, if you like. So it would be great if you could see her and send us a photograph of her.
And you mentioned a couple of your birds have been photographed already on migration. Do you know whereabouts?
Yeah, so the first one to leave, that has, which was quite good, because the doom mongers said, oh, it's gone too early, it's died, it's sort of, which is
and typical. When did
he went? On the 9th of August. 9th
of August. Okay, that was a really early one. Let me just have a
check. Yeah, it was early.
Do you know why?
7:57. He left the nest at 7:57. But I don't know when he left Kielder, but it would be that day, because he didn't come back for a fish. So he left
7:57 in the morning.
Yeah, 7:57 in the morning on the 9th of August he left.
Pretty unusual for the birds to be out and flying that early. I thought they kind of waited till sort of 10. That was a bit more...
yeah, it's not unusual to be flying. He probably didn't immediately go on migration. I mean, he just sort of headed off sideways. He probably went down to the water, and mostly they go between 11 and 3, I would say, here, where we've got where we had trackers. 11 o'clock or thereafter is a popular time, but some do go quite early in the morning. Anyway, he left then. He left the nest at that point, and he left Kielder that day, I would say, because he never came back for a fish, which at that point, is unknown. And he was seen at early morning in Barcelona on the 26th of August.
Oh, so he took that long to go. So from the 9th to the 26th, he kind of meandered his way down.
Yeah, he could have. Anyway, so we haven't had any more sightings, but that was good to get that sighting.
Okay, so it's he or she. He has at least got to there.
Yeah, and not been seen since. As not identified since.
Yeah.
Then the other one that we know something about, it's not that fascinating, but it's a female, 442 is her number. She left on the 28th of August. She left after 10:05 in the morning, and again she didn't come back to the nest for a fish in the afternoon. So, if there's fish there, they'll come back.
Okay, so let's pick 11 at a time. Yeah, I mean, she's got a good, at the surface, there's a very gentle 6 km/h wind. Once you get up to 100 meters, it'll be,
she was seen just 3 days later in Lincolnshire, so she didn't exactly race down either. That's
okay.
Good. Yeah, so she was there early morning. She'd roosted near there. It was a bird person that saw her, and she came to fish, and she was chased by crows, so she went off, and he actually went back in the evening because he thought she might have hung around, and he didn't see her. So she probably did carry on migrating, but she was clearly looking for breakfast. He reckoned she'd roosted near there because he was there very early, and she'd gone there, 31st of the 8th. She got that far by the 30th, basically, which isn't a huge day.
No, but yeah, just kind of taking time, and it looks like the weather had all been pretty good.
Yeah. So what was the weather like then on the 31st? Because she obviously did head off on the 31st.
So you think she then moved on there because she's got a 30 km/h tailwind?
Yeah, I would think she did. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, if you were gonna shoot off, there would be a tendency to get blown towards the west, but an osprey could handle that. Was she a juvenile bird, did you say, or an adult?
Yeah, juvenile.
Okay, and then if we have a look, what did it do over the rest of that day? 32 km/h. Yeah, I mean, I guess the winds turned to be a bit more southerly, and she was lower down. Oh yeah, and slightly lower down, it was only 12 km/h. So, yeah. If you can, that's a pretty big difference between sort of surface area had 12 km/h winds, but if you go up 1,000 hectopascals is just 110 meters or something.
Yeah.
But it goes up to 31, so there was a really big difference in the height.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be a question of whether she chose her altitude to have stronger winds and being pulled a bit more to the west, or lighter winds and a bit further to the south. If it ended up on the south coast, they still were flying with days with strong winds from the east.
Yeah, there's been a lot of sightings this year of actually mostly unringed birds, but they have been hanging around in the southwest and even West Wales. In Pembrokeshire, there's been one, an unringed juvenile, been hanging around for several days. So I think they are waiting quite often for better conditions.
And I mean, they're generally being pulled to the west. And I wonder, I mean, it's interesting also to have a look at the bigger picture sometime to see if they did find themselves in one of these strong weather systems where you could see how they could end up, in Portugal, for example, from this. If you look at this trajectory, a bird in Cornwall could easily get blown, but actually end up back near Portugal if they were lucky.
Yeah.
And what with that on that sort of 11 o'clock on the 1st, that would be with a 26 km/h tailwind, which would be quite handy. Well, it'll be interesting to know which ones if they're resighted elsewhere.
Yeah,
we'd love to know about the bird that was seen on, was it Boaty McBoatface or the David Attenborough? I haven't managed to speak to the guys on the boat yet. I still would love to.
Yeah,
pretty magic to find have a bird land on a boat like that.
Yeah, that's the best bet for ones like the Tweed one and some of ours. Actually, they have been on a boat. One of ours went heading off into the Atlantic like crazy, but not from Ireland. It went past Ireland more or less, but then got on a boat and got back down in the right direction, and then was all right.
And so it's not that uncommon. I mean, it makes sense. They're not dumb, are they? If they're exhausted, they know they're being blown. Closer, they'll well, fingers crossed. There are significant numbers of boats in that region, so it's possible.
The thing is, they think it's an island because to them it's not really moving. It's an object, and they think it's an island, and so they're landing to roost or something like that, and then they wake up and they're not where they were. It must be just exhaustion, but sometimes it's not exhaustion as such. It's just looking for somewhere to roost, and they see this large lump of rock or something.
And how do you know that one of yours landed on a boat? Did they?
Because
People
for the
let you know?
speeds and the heights, it was travelling out in direction. It did. Two or three of ours have. One of them was heading down and did stop at dusk, and it was heading down to northern Spain, crossing the Bay of Biscay, but way out, out at sea, and then came down rather than fly overnight. And they do fly overnight over the sea, but it didn't. Maybe it wasn't a moonlit night or whatever, and landed on a boat. But unfortunately, the boat was going to Europe. So they woke up the next morning and they were virtually level with Brittany, but it didn't help her because she had to do all those miles again.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Joanna.
Okay.
That's been fascinating.